some of the things you should consider when you come to the end of the semester, and that you should look in your course to clean up. We have three guest speakers today. Actually two. Michael isn't going to talk really. We have Michael Lesko from the ITech Help Desk. We have Dr. Rebecca Gold, who's a faculty, plus the director of ITech. She's here to share her experience as faculty, how she deals with her course, what she does at the end of the semester. And we have Trina McCarthy. She's from DCE. She's a program coordinator for the College of Arts and Science credit. And she will share her coordinator perspective on wrapping up. So.
Thanks, Shasti. Can everybody hear us? Am I loud enough? Okay. Actually, Michael will talk. So just so you know that he does have a voice and he will be talking. Thanks for coming today. I would just like to share with you initially the issue of housekeeping. What I try to do when I teach a course, and I teach typically only in the summer, I housekeep as I go along. And I think that's one of the critical factors of housekeeping. For example, if I have a Word document that's up, that something's spelled wrong and the students tell me, I take care of it right then. Or if I have a PDF file that's been scanned and it's too big, I handle it right then. Because if I wait until fall or I wait until spring, I will have forgotten what the students suggested that I do. So that's just one other tidbit of housekeeping to share with you. The other thing I'd like to share with you in terms of housekeeping, I try and ask students all along the way what I need to do differently. And in fact, one of the best experiences I've ever had is I had a top-notch student. She was a PhD. She wanted to be a dietitian, and she had to take my course. So instead of having her take the final, I had her go through every module and tell me what was right or what was wrong with every single module. So in fact, she helped me with housekeeping. And that's probably one of the best experiences in terms of improving my course and what I needed to do in terms of assessment. So if you ever have that opportunity, use those students to their fullest advantage. I'll just tell you from the outset, Michael has lunch writing on this issue. We have 20 help desk students, and Michael drew the short straw. And so if he does a good job, we'll vote at the end and he gets lunch. If he doesn't do a good job, he won't get lunch.
No straws involved. You can't say no to her.
But I'm so proud of Michael and so proud of all the help desk students. But after this, in the very near future, Michael is completing his degree in software engineering, and he's going to work for Cerner. So he's the perfect person to show us navigate through the system. Okay. So the first thing we want to talk about, we're just going to use my course, and this is perfect because you can see some bad things and some good things, and we're going to do some cleanup and some things we won't do so I don't lose things before I start the class again. So Michael's going to open up my class, and we're just going to look at the space and how much space I'm using.
Okay.
And so go ahead.
We'll begin by opening the course tools as always, and then to look at the overall space, we'll go to the Manage Files section. This will load the new pop-up window. And as we scroll to the bottom of the left column, there's a section down here that will give you overall all the data you've stored within the course, all of your modules, papers people have submitted, anything you have in this section. And you can see Dr. Gould's been kind of naughty. She's over her limit, needs to do some housekeeping here.
Okay, so that's why we're here. And Shasti and Ben can tell us they're not going to take any space away from you, but it's a good practice to clean up. And I thought I'd tell a tale on myself. I'm working on a class with the National Food Service Management Institute, and about a month ago they emailed me and told me I'm using 26% more space than any course they have on their campus. And so immediately, because we have a lot of video and audio files, immediately we got in the business of cleaning up. Okay, so that's where you know where your space is. The next thing we're going to show you from managed files is, say you're not sure about what content you're going to use or what content you're going to delete. We recommend that you zip up your course or zip up a module. And Michael's going to show you how to do that.
Okay. Say we wanted the leadership management module. It's one you're going to use across semesters or just something you want to back up. In this case, we have some PDF documents, some basic HTML, some Word documents, and so forth. If you want the entire module, you can select everything within there from the Edit menu. You click Select All, and you'll see it places the check mark next to each one of the items. From there, go to Tools, and you can do this two ways. You can zip it directly and save that zip file into this section, and then download that zip file, or download it directly as a zip file. So for the sake of speeding things up, we'll just download it directly. So we click download. It'll ask us, do we want to open or save this file that we're about to download? For the sake of archiving, we'll save this. Ask us where to save it to. You can save it to your local machine onto your hard drive. Always get it to back these files up on another means. So in this case, I've also mounted a little USB thumb drive. So we'll select that, which is, where did it mount to? It actually is not mounted. So for the sake of expediency, we'll save it to the desktop in this case, and you can move it to backup data, burn it to CD, whatever means you want to use. I always identify the file instead of download.zip. Change this, so this is the leadership module. And I'll save that to the desktop. And then I'll proceed to save.
And why we're recommending that is to zip it or back it up before you go through and clean it out and delete any files that you might need later. So it's your backup plan, in other words.
And your other option would be to back these up to other courses. So if you're wanting to use similar documents for either course, you can actually move an entire module or a particular file. So in this case, I wanted to use, let me deselect all of these real quick. I'm going to select none. Say I wanted to use just the leadership Word document here. If I click on Edit, I can either copy or move it. Copy will allow a version of this document to persist in both folders, in the original and where we're moving it to, and move to will physically move it and will not persist in the original. So in this case, we're going to copy it. It will give you the option to move it within a module of this course, or in this course Dropbox, any other course you have an affiliation with. I have just one of my courses up here that I'll move it into my module 1, and we'll click copy. And that'll move that into that course and then take me over back to the original. And you can go back to the course organizer to see that it's in the other one.
So, for example, how might we use that? Well, Tina's in the room. I'm a dietitian, and say I wanted to create just a simple module for continuing education credits for dietitians. I can just simply copy that one module over and put it into another course, okay? Or, again, if I wanted to use it in another course, I've done the same thing, okay? So that's our copy and move. Okay, then now we could go about the business of deleting files and deleting folders. And Michael and I yesterday created a file.
It's the module we called Old Quizzes.
And he's just going to go through and delete it.
Okay. So in this case, I have it selected. We just click File, drop down to Delete, and that will delete that folder. Click OK to confirm. And as it's processing, that'll go away momentarily. You can also delete single files, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to remove any information she has. But by selecting a single file, you have the option of a delete button, or again, the file delete will allow you to remove those files.
Okay. But just make sure you have a backup before you do that.
Yeah. Once it's gone, it's...
Yes, we're going to show that. Yes. So that's the other point. So when you delete, it's just like email. It doesn't go away. It's going into your recycle bin, and Michael's going to show that.
It's a soft delete.
Yeah.
Soft delete instead of a hard delete. So you know, you're biting your nails.
Right. So here we have some files that are within the recycle bin, and see they accumulate pretty easily. Did you want to remove everything from this?
Not everything.
Well, from here you can do a hard delete in the same manner from within the recycle bin.
Okay. I'm not willing to go that far yet. And then the other thing we just want to show you is archiving files and clearing the file Dropbox. So for example, students in my class send me their papers and it goes into a file Dropbox, and I read them that way, and I either publish them or I could also grade them and send them back. Well, I've left some in my folder since last summer, and Michael's going to show you those.
So here you see they are in fact unpublished as we go down. To archive these, the simplest way would be just to select them all, and in the same means we'll be back to the module to zip that and download it. So again, we just edit, or excuse me, Tools, and then download, would send it down the same way we've done prior. Or you can again move into other courses, do all those same things to archive them however you so choose.
And the other thing is, if I realized that I had graded them and I no longer wanted them, I could delete all of those. Okay, again, to save space.
The reason to archive, let me just interject. The reason you want to archive your assignments in the file box area is if you wanted to use them as sample papers for the next class, and if you wanted to, keep all the assignments, because you never know, students come back and say, oh, well, I can get a good grade. You have their assignment there in front of you to verify. So there could be a number of reasons why you want to keep it as a backup. A lot of people don't use it and they just simply delete it.
Delete. Then one other thing we wanted to share with you, and I haven't said this to Michael beforehand, is that those of you who use Tegrity will have a Tegrity folder in your folder structure. And a memo's coming out to you, if it hasn't already, that is asking you to look at all of those. Brian Vanderveer is going to send you an email, and he's going to attach a PDF file. And that PDF file will show you all your Tegrity lectures. And what he's asking you to do is go through and check the ones you are okay about him deleting. As you can imagine, we have 5,000 Tegrity lectures on the server. And we want people to understand whether they really do need them or whether we could delete them. If you want us to back them up, we will show you how to do that so they're not gone for good. But just know that memo is coming your way if it hasn't already. And he asks you to check off the ones you want to delete and then send them back to him. And that should be coming in the next, if not this week, next week. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the communication suite. And in housekeeping, we're going to look at clearing out old messages from the message of the day tool. When Michael and I went back and looked at my course, I still had the message of the day up there from last summer. So we went in. Are you going to show them that?
From the communication suite again to the course organizer, we're back in message of the day. And you can do one of two things. You can just simply disable it so your current message doesn't show up, doesn't persist. That's the simplest fix. And you can also make all of your previous messages visible or not. As you scroll down, you have the hide option over here. Or you can simply disable the previous messages from being displayed altogether by checking the radio button up top.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ben and Shasti, the new version of K-State Online will allow you to delete those.
Yes.
Okay.
And even the new message of the day tool will even allow you to write a message ahead of time, set a date so that you don't have to physically do it the day before. You could almost create it in advance and then set a date so that it's released by itself. And you'd be able to edit it more too. I think right now it doesn't allow you to edit much of your message, but I think the new tool will allow you to do that.
Okay.
Do the students have to go in and check and see if there's a message, or will they get a notification?
I think they might be getting a notification with the new tool that's coming out in August.
Right now, it's just there, and they don't get a message. Okay. The next housekeeping we're recommending is archiving your message board's postings.
All right, so we'll go back to the communication suite from the message board itself. Here you want to select the message board you want to archive, so we'll choose the first one, which happens to be unpublished, but regardless, the steps would be the same. From the navigation bar, we'll click the Administration tab. And from here, we will go to the Archive option. Type a name for the archive itself. Something that's identifiable, the name of the board and a date is usually helpful so you can identify things. So in this case, this was board 1, and today's the 4th. Select the message threads. You can do a select all or individual and then create the archive. And that archive is now in your message archives.
Okay. And then archive chat sessions. As most of you know, the best practice is to archive your chat session after the chat. There's a simple tool you just go to in your managed files, and it says archive the chat log, and you can do it right there. If you don't do that, who knows what happens? If you don't archive it right then, and you wait till the end of the semester and you archive your chat log, you have a long chat from every chat you had during that semester. You can edit that using an HTML editor, but I don't know about you all, but I don't want to do that. I want to chat right after the session. So my best practice is after I have a chat that evening, I go right then to the log. Because the students ask me for that anyway. Are you going to log this? So I do it immediately.
And that's, again, in the Manage Files section, Tools, then Archive Chat Log. And it gives you the option of which chats to log. I believe there's one created in here. No. You remember which one of these you have a log in?
No,
No.
sorry.
You'd find the group that has a log, continue through, save the file name. It's a rather intuitive step from there. And then it saves it in your archives again.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. And then in Communication Suite, we're also going to talk about backing up files and clearing the student grouping area. So we're going to go to the student groups. Go ahead.
Okay, so here we're going to begin by backing the files up. We'll select the group itself. Wrong one. So we'll select the group itself. From the top, we have the group files option. This group doesn't have a file uploaded to it, but from here, you have the same type of functionality that you're going to have from the Manage File Suite. You'd select the groups you want, or you can see all the files that they've had published each iteration, and then download all as a zip file, archive those in the same means that we have them to your hard drive or to an alternative storage.
I think that all faculty need to think carefully, do they really want that? Will they really want that next year? It's just like cleaning out your closet. If you think you need it, save it. If you don't, I would say delete it. And I usually am crazy about deleting things, so my caution is to be careful. The other thing you can do is to make this area inactive.
Right. You can do this two ways. You can either delete the group itself, which you click the little trash can over here, and then that group doesn't exist and nothing can happen to it. If you want the group to persist, you can select the group itself and then change the end date and just set it to the date prior to the current date, and then it's no longer active. So in this case, it's set to the 31st. We set this to the 4th. Scroll down and click our Save button. That group becomes no longer active.
Okay. Because you don't want students to continue to chat or share that space when the course is no longer in session. They have other means to do that. Okay. A couple of other things we want to show you. Oh,
No. I got click happy.
okay.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
There is an end date to a semester, you know, of course, like to a semester.
Mhm.
Would their access to the course be gone, and then therefore the group would be gone even if you'd forgotten to put this, that date in?
Okay, yes, that's correct. That if they are dropped, if they've completed the course and the access dates are there, they will be knocked out. But there are often, groups that, there might be people in the group who are not part of the student group. They might be a visiting instructor, they might be a GTA, and, you know, they might be other users, and therefore you want to make sure that they also don't have access beyond the point. If you've added users manually, you want to go in and check that they're off the student group, or you've made the grouping inactive, so they can't participate anymore. So,
And the other users change grades as well too?
no, they can't change grades,
Only
only the instructor, and, yeah,
but the other instructors can change grades?
no. No.
That's all based off of the system rules within Case Online. We'll go into that a little bit.
Only one person can change
I
grades?
think only the primary instructor can change rules. Did you say rules or grades?
What grades?
Okay, yeah, grades, yeah. The others can.
We'll look at those roles.
And if you go into the roster, when you're adding a user, there's a portion. Can you pull up the roster?
That, in fact, that's the next
There's
thing.
a
next section,
description, there's a description about each user type, so when you add, you can know what their powers are too, so.
We'll
So
get
let's,
them
yeah,
momentarily.
let's go to that then. The other thing, just when Nancy said that, I'd like to share with you, last year, the profiles page was not up until sometime in August when my class was over. I was surprised at the students that went in after the class was over and created a profile. That just blew me away. So that's even more reason to do housekeeping in a timely manner. Okay, so in the
Upcoming semester students have great interest in what you did in your course
Yes.
previously.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that you had to shut it down to limit access. I simply thought I'm finished with that course. I'll do it next spring, and realized that before spring started, people had syllabus run off. They had thought, oh, wisdom comes with experience.
Yes, yes, that's why we're here today. Okay, so Michael's gonna show you roles. You wanna do
Well,
adding?
that'll be adding a new user.
Okay,
Okay, so from the navigation bar, we click the Add User option. And here, to add a user to the course, this just to explain the rules. You first have to select a section for the course itself. In this case, Summer 2004 is our option. Okay.
in user search, if you search
Yeah.
for somebody.
All right, we go down to the user search option, and there's multiple ways to do this. The optimal way is to know the person's EID that you're wanting to add. If you try to search for them by their last name and first name, you can end up adding an alternate version of that person where they can't actually log in. Their name just persists within the roster. Some people run into this. We've had several instances with the help desk. So in this case,
We'll do Kathy R.
okay, we'll add Kathy. Her ID is Kathy R. We'll click search, and it'll come up with her EID. We can add this person. This is tied in with keys and SIS and everything, so they are logged into it correctly. Add this person to the list, and if we're done adding users, we can go ahead and click close, and then add the person onto the list itself. Now, because I'm not the primary instructor, I don't have those system roles that you would.
And see what happens when you add the user to the roster.
Okay. So if we add her to the roster, we now see the full roster, and where is she at?
And probably because you didn't have the role. Okay. Did you see it?
Did you see that I just overlooked it?
Okay. Okay.
Don't you have to be a primary instructor?
Yes,
to add?
yes, and that's what.
Okay.
So can you go back to first?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and we're going to try and go through this real quickly. One of our other points is to clear the roster of other users, such as GTAs, visiting instructors. Sometimes people crop up in your roster that are showing, like Rob Caffey sometimes shows up in my roster because he goes and shows my course. I don't want him in there, so we're going to delete
So
him.
we
Is he
come
in
down
there?
here, and where do you
Oh,
go?
there's
Under the
Kathy.
C's, there it is.
Okay.
Oh, I was looking at her C instead of R.
Yes.
So Kathy is down here to clarify. I forgot her last name starts with an R, not a C. Mental lapse. We're going to go ahead and remove Rob from this list. We put a check mark next to him. Back to the top, we click the Remove Users button. Are we sure? Confirm. And we'll see that Rob is no longer affiliated with this section of the course.
So I took him out of my class, and he'll probably send me a note about that. And there could be GTAs that you want to remove, or visiting instructors, or whomever, and that's your way to do the remove of the user. The other thing, I don't do this, but some people export the roster, so you could do that, make a backup of the roster. I'd rather just back up the grade book, which we'll get to. But if you wanted, to have a copy of the roster, you can do that.
In this case, you want to go ahead and select all, and then click the Export Roster button. Select the options you want available, anything you're going to find that you're going to need as you export to re-import, if you want the person's email, contact, and so forth. And then click Export. And in this case, I have Internet Explorer setting to change. And this happens with the installation of Service Pack 2. And you occasionally have to disable your pop-up blocker. So we're going to temporarily enable them. You can also change permissions to allow anything from Case It Online to have a pop-up window. That's more technical stuff. We'll get to that. If you have questions, call the help desk. We'll walk you through it.
Just call Michael.
For another week.
Okay, now I've exported this into Excel, which is loaded as a plugin. And we have everyone's information through here. It didn't load the section headings for some reason. All right. Once it's loaded, though, we can go ahead. Oh, that's the EID for Elaine. All right. You can do any edits you want in here. When you save this, you can save it as two possible solutions. The CSV is the default file. It's a comma separated value.
Comes.
Yeah, it's a comma delimited value. So every value on the line is separated by a comma, which puts it in another cell, and then the carriage return or enter moves it to the next line for the next series of values.
You're getting too technical.
Sorry, I'm a programmer. I apologize. So again, we picked the place we want to save it to. You can also put it as an Excel file, but that's going to be a little bit more difficult to import back into K-State Online because the Excel file format throws some extra junk in there. So we'll leave it as a CSV. 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 So we'll leave it as Save it to the desktop. And it'll ask you, are you sure you want to save it as a CSV instead of an Excel file? So we'll go ahead and say yes, and that's saved out, and you have your roster you can play with from there.
Okay, so that's the utility suite and handling the roster. Then we're going to go to the grade book or the assessment suite, and we're going to talk about exporting the grade book. This is something I do so that I have a copy of the grade book. My caution to all of you is please keep it in a secure manner. Not on some floppy drive, not on some zip drive, but some secure manner where people can't access this information. You'd be surprised if you go to Howie's how many paper copies of grade books are in the recycle bin at Howie's that people have not shredded. Think about there's a name, password, there's a name, social security pair on that grade book. So please be careful.
Okay. Now here I don't have the full roster shown, just what's active because this is an expired course, and for the security of those individuals that are in the course, we're not going to show their information. But to export the grade book, again, we select everybody we want to export for. Click Export Grades. Export, and again, it dumps this into an Excel file with all that information, shows you the breakdown, tell you when it was done, and you have the copy of that grade book. And if you wanted to have everybody in there, you would have to choose all users or the completed students to have the actual grades. And that can be saved as a CSV file.
After looking at the grade book, is there a simple way to print that entire deal? I
To-
tried as many ways as I knew.
Was not successful, decided it wasn't critical, and went on to another task. But because it's so hard to read the far right when there are
Yeah.
multiple options,
Even within
I'm not-
Excel,
There's a way to reduce the size of that.
you can do what's called a fit to page within Excel.
oh yes,
But if you have, I'm sorry, continue.
But I can't find it. I found it a couple weeks ago where you could reduce it by 20%, 30%.
Okay, well here we'll go ahead and we'll do page setup, and we'll start with landscape.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then you can adjust the normal size,
Oh, yeah.
or you can fit to one page by one page.
Thank you.
Now,
Okay.
if you have several assignments, it's going to scale those down, and it can become difficult to read.
Sure.
And it might be beneficial then to manually move that into two series.
Two or some, gotcha.
But
Thank you very much.
it doesn't print both sides, so you could take them together. I think if you'll
It
do
does
that.
not.
No,
It
if
does
you do it
not.
100%, it just prints the left side.
That's correct.
Yeah. And you can move the name to the right side.
Yes,
But I don't think you could just print the right side.
I believe that's correct.
You can do what's called a print selection if you wanted to do a two-page section. So let's say I wanted to print A through L. I could select these columns.
Right.
But that's in Excel.
This is within Excel, correct?
Yeah,
Within K-State Online, you simply have the file print option. You can do some variations here. This depends on the printer driver you're using also. You can change the landscape, you can change your margins, but it's going to get some limited functionality. There may be, this is a test run, and this is a little bit more of a nerdy user thing, and it won't work within this.
I'm curious if you could use your preferences to hide some of the columns.
Oh, yeah.
Print off your
That's a good-
window with your browser and then display a different set of columns.
Well, I tried that, but it deletes those scores too, from the final grade.
Well, you need to turn it back on.
Right.
It's only showing you the scores for what is visible. It's
Right.
not deleting any final scores, any scores.
No,
It's
it
just-
hasn't deleted
Yeah.
them, but what you print out
Yeah, once you print out,
is only those scores that you.
yeah, you wouldn't get the summaries that you want over on the right.
Right.
And that's what we want.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
you
that's what
want.
we want, yeah.
I think the best solution to that would be to go into something like Excel, and if you wanted to do this multiple part, easy way to print is a print selection, where you'd select columns A through L, and from the print page, you can print the selection,
Yes.
and only what you have highlighted gets printed, and then you can do partial. It's a little more work for the end user, but it's something you can do to work around that. And that can be a potential feature for K-State Online. It's talking about that one.
And I wrote myself a note, so we'll explore that and put that as a question of the week to see if there are other options. How about that?
Thank you.
Okay. So export the grade book, Michael showed you that. And then the other thing is, we just want to make sure that on the grading rules. Many times people forget what grading rule they used in a course. So we're just asking as part of housekeeping to document your grading rule. Nancy's in the back. She is our pro at grading rules. So if you get through the end of the semester and you think, oh my gosh, the scores appear low or the scores appear high, Nancy can help you verify whether those grading rules are correct. And Michael's going to show you where the grading rules.
Okay. You can start off with your basic grading values, the traditional 90, 80, 70, and so forth breakdown. You can change those to adjust for a curve manually. Or we can go to the grading rules section themselves. And I don't have an assignment selected. Just a moment. Oh, here we go. Did it backwards. So we'll say for quiz 1, we want to apply a grading rule. We can adjust the score to add an additional 15 points. If you have a 90 question test worth 100 points, you add 10 points, making it even 100. Or you can actually skew those. You can add, subtract, divide, do every mathematical operation. You can go ahead and change that way. Make sure you apply it to the correct course and to all students, which option you want to choose. Go ahead and add your basic rounding, 1 or 2 significant digits at the end, and the pass-fail rule. So if you are applying that curve where, say, a 57 ends up being passing, you can apply that here in the pass-fail section.
Okay.
So you do that for each exam? You can't do that on the final score?
There is a way in front of her house.
You can.
Well,
Would
if you want to apply it to the total score, you're probably going to go into what you showed first, which is your grading divisions of where you're going to grade your A's and B's.
Each individual exam?
No,
No.
okay, you're talking about a total score for
I'm
an
talking about
exam.
total score.
For the entire class.
And probably it's from the grade book, Nancy? Is
Well,
it-
I was going to say, if you're wanting to curve the final score,
Yeah.
that's all the points are getting, that's what you're grading, your rules for the grading scale is for.
Okay.
And you can do it either by points or by percentage. It's the first thing we showed, it's on a different, it's the one that's on
By
the.
percentage. Okay.
Yes. Okay. And those are the things we wanted to show you in terms of housekeeping, and Trina's going to talk about preparing for next semester.
Okay, since Dr. Gould's told you how to clean up, then we're going to get ready for the next semester. And we want to prepare each course for that next semester. So, first of all, make a note to you not to wait until the last minute. This can be done early on. Sometimes I might make a mark on my calendar shortly after spring break, that first couple weeks in April when things aren't so hectic, to go ahead and start some of these things so that you're not scrambling at the last minute. It's a simple process. If you're going to create a new course, would you show the create button, I think, on the course organizer page?
I don't know that I have that function.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I do.
There's just a create course.
I do.
It's
Okay.
okay. So you would just click on that. It's going to ask you some basic information, course number.
We fill
Yeah.
everything out. It's a simple form to walk through.
It's really a simple process. If you do not have any materials up and you're not ready to put them up, and you know that, go ahead and say that in the message of the day. Say, welcome to the course. I plan on having materials up and your syllabus ready on this date. That way, at least your students will have an idea of what's going on in the class. Otherwise, if this doesn't happen, ITAC gets a lot of phone calls because those students panic when that course is not on their course organizer on that first day. They'll think that they had a problem with their enrollment, or they have a whole list of ideas that'll go through their mind of what may have happened to their course.
Add one caveat to that. If you are creating a new course from scratch, you have to create the course and then a semester section as well.
Right.
That's the one thing we get countless calls on from that first week of class when people don't have rosters showing up. So once you create the course, and that's what we'll do in the next couple steps, is to create the semester and section of that course.
Yes, and whether you have a new course or a existing course, that's another step that the student absolutely needs, like you said, or else it's not going to show up on their course organizer either. If you go into the tools section again, and under the Utilities suite, there's a Create Semesters/Sections. This is the area where you need to put in your reference number and some description of that section of your course. So you want to make absolutely sure that your reference number is accurate, otherwise you're going to give the wrong students into your course. You're going to get somebody else's students. So double check that a couple of times. If you have several sections of the same course, make sure that you put a title on that section that makes sense to you. And go ahead and save those. Again, if this reference number isn't in here, the students won't have access to the course on their organizer. What this does, just to give you some background so you'll know how it works, is this reference number is what bumps up against the student information system where the students are enrolled. So as soon as this system has the reference number, it can go out there and grab all those students and pull them into their roster. Without this, there's just no way that it will work. We have had sometimes the student will call you and say, you're not showing up on my course organizer. I would definitely recommend that you refer them to either ITAC or back to the registration office where they enrolled. There's a lot of possibilities for why they're not showing up on your roster. If they enrolled for a course and they have a delinquency, if they don't meet some of the requirements, there's a lot of different reasons why they might not be on there. If you decide as an instructor to manually add that student, then you may be giving student access to your course that really shouldn't have the access. Plus, at the end of the semester, if they're manually added, sometimes they won't be dropped in the right manner when they get a grade and that type of thing. So definitely I would refer them to ITAC if they really think that it's a technical problem, but first they need to make sure they're enrolled. And I guess they could probably just check on CATS and make sure that they're actually in the course and go from there.
That's probably one of the help desk's most frequent questions at the beginning of a semester.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's just a matter of updating the roster and then the person shows up. That first week, as people have procrastinated and they don't create these courses, the roster updates work on a first in, first out queue. And that line can get rather long where instead of taking 30 seconds to update, it can take almost a full day. So another reason to do this as soon as possible.
And that's the next thing I was going to talk about is if your roster is not updating, if you're not seeing the students that you think you need to see, there is a little button that says Update Roster if you want to go to the roster page.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's when he clicked earlier where you got the continue page. And sometime you'll see that continue page
Create
for a
that
while.
section. Yeah, so it won't do anything.
But that might solve the problem right there and the student will have access. If that does not work, one mistake that I get commonly from instructors who call me is up in the upper left-hand section in those brackets where it says Summer 2005. Sometimes they just don't have the right semester. That bracketed area works as a link. Sometimes you haven't been in your course for a while, it's still showing Spring 2005. You look at your roster, you're wondering why your summer students aren't there. Check on that link, it will let you choose the next semester. And again, that's usually a very common solution to that problem. So make sure you're in the right semester and that you have the right section. And also the all users drop down versus all students. Sometimes people have all other users or something chosen and they're not showing their students. So check all of those areas first. Yes?
Just a quick question. When I went in for my spring semester, just as you stated, I had fall 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And can't remember how I figured out to do it. I think I just fooled around until I got it. What happens to the old rosters? They stay permanently so that you can go back. Those are never cleaned out.
You can, yes, there's a button that shows, I don't see it on here.
Can't you go to the completed students?
Yeah.
And if you were to scroll down,
Let this page load.
oh, page is loading.
Are you thinking about the button that shows up when you're in the preference page where
Yeah,
you can show all semesters?
if you click on where it says Spring 2005 up there on the left, and you're not seeing very many semesters back, click on that Show Old Semesters, and then it will really open up a long list.
Okay, so you can keep a continuous history.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
And again, that's another reason instructors have manually deleted too, and that's probably not a good idea, unless you've manually added them. That's the one time that you might manually delete somebody.
And so all the grades stay there as well, not just the roster, but all the grades, because the grade book should stay there as well.
I believe so, unless you exported or deleted, right? Okay. Also on that page, if you could go into the Create Semester section page again. K-State Online has default opening and ending days for each semester. One place that you can find this, is it coming up?
It's trying.
Okay. One place that you can find this is when you're creating those reference numbers. And where you create the reference number and title them, it's going to have those dates right there for you on that page. You can go back to that. You can refer back to that if you need to, but I would maybe write it down or put it on your calendar somewhere. The summer default date for K-State Online to open this year is May 20th. So when you're thinking about all these things to clean up and when those students will be wanting access to the course, you need to keep that date in mind.
For some reason the page is taking its sweet time.
Okay.
Do you want to change semesters to summer 2004 and then
We can give it a try.
I think we're going to talk about those dates again, so I'm going to go on. When she was talking about cleaning house, one thing that you need to remember too with those access dates is that there's going to be certain things in some courses that you don't want those next students to see. You mentioned your syllabus. We've actually had instructors that have published answer keys, not within the assignment manager, but published a document that gave answers and forgotten to take that down before the next group of students had access to that course. Those type of documents, if you keep those, it's so critical to unpublish. There's no reason you would need to delete them unless you want to get rid of them. But if we get up and running here, we'll look at the manage files again, and you're all familiar with that page probably, and there's a little green check mark. If it is published, as soon as you click on that check mark, it turns to a red X. Just go through any course packet, course information, syllabus, assignment results, anything like that. Just make sure that you're real careful about getting those down by May 19th for your spring course. And then, of course, like I said, having all those reference numbers, all those things in for May 20th for the next course. So, let's see.
Here's that course information packet we were mentioning earlier. Just
Great.
write all the modules. You just publish or unpublish this by clicking the icon as you normally would. And that way it's not available. And what was the other one we were wanting to show?
custom semester?
Yeah,
Semesters.
Ross, or,
All right, so within create custom semester, or create semester section, pardon me. You
yeah,
can,
right there. Selected semester information. Oops.
Is that not what you wanted?
No, just go back a screen. Okay. So right there, selected semester information for that semester. That's where it's going to tell you exactly when the starting and shut-off dates are. If you forget where to find those, call ITAC. They'll be able to tell you when those dates are.
And that really, May 20th is when students really start calling the help desk, asking, where is my course?
Okay, I think the last thing I have is to make copies of assignments to new sections and semesters.
The versioning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me change back to
So are you going to assignment manager? Okay. Okay.
And this is if you wanted to make copies of your assignments from one semester to another semester where you plan to teach again. I mean, you could literally copy your assignments, and they'll talk about it.
You just choose the assignment that you like, that you would like to copy over, And then you create a new semester version.
Then it'll ask you where you want to place this in, for the upcoming or older semesters either way. Summer 2005 would be the next version of this course, so I'll select that. Click continue, and you'll see we're now in the summer 2005 section of this course, and that assignment is now available.
The only catch is you do have to enter the new date, available date and the expire dates as well, and when the grades are gonna be posted and when the key's gonna be posted. It doesn't bring those dates from the previous semester. So you do have to go in and enter the new dates, but it does copy the assignment over.
So this is the quiz they made online,
Yes.
is that right?
In this case, yeah, you can do the same thing with other assignments, just the same.
I teach an intro course, and I get a lot of students that have never done anything online, and I've discovered that I need to keep things very simple. So I do weekly readings, and then I have them read the message board for the assignment that applies to the reading for that week. And I have several assignments I've used this semester that I felt worked really well. Is there any way to copy those message board assignments in some way to throw them into the next semester? Because I was anticipating just simply retyping.
You can use the message board archives and make those available.
All right, now if it's on the message board archives from this semester and I'm going to use it again in fall of 2005, what do I do?
Okay, we have it archived. I don't believe I have one created here yet.
Okay, well, you can just tell me, I'm pretty familiar, I can just.
Okay, you'll have,
What is that?
there's a way to view the archives.
If you publish them, right?
Yeah, you'll have to publish them within the manage file section and publish it with all that stuff. You have to make sure they're published, and there has to be in the student view to actually show them. And if these are available, that'll be a threaded view where it should be available. Well, if the archive's there, you can see the archives themselves. And this is in the student view right here. So they have an archived version of all these threads. So there's the archive of module 1 through 5 the student would have access to. Now, if someone's posted potential solutions or whatnot to an assignment in the message board, you obviously want to remove that. Or you can cut and paste them into a new thread. Is that clear?
Okay, so, my assignment, which would say week 5, module 5, the title, I go into the archives, I mark it,
Mark it as published.
okay,
Let me go back. Back here. So you're on your message boards. These are ones that I have archived. Where's the publish option? I have that open. From our archives, I've got the rooms archived here. You just make sure they're published.
okay.
That does it for the chat. Can you do the same thing for the message board?
Oh, those are.
I mean, that's the question.
Where are those saved at?
Message, yeah, I'm thinking it's a cut and paste, Michael.
Okay, that's
I
what I
would
was
assume
wondering.
the archive message board is not really an active message board anymore.
No, but she's wanting to move her archive message
Yeah.
board to another semester.
So it would be a cut and paste. So
Yeah.
you
There would
get
be a
it back
comment
into
to
an
it.
active.
Right.
Yeah, cut and paste would probably be your simplest solution.
Yeah.
That's your simplest solution.
Yes,
Cut and paste
we're
it.
thinking Control C, Control V,
Yes.
don't you think?
Rather than cut.
Be the easiest.
Yeah,
It'll be faster.
All right.
yeah.
I don't
That's
know if we have a solution as yet to move archive message boards to another semester at this point.
All right.
Yes, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Further questions or?
Oh, I wanted to point out something
Yes,
that
Nancy.
maybe you jumped over a little bit. You showed how to copy an assignment to a new semester. When you go to the new semester, you have a course that's been going on, chunking, getting ready for the next semester. When you go in and create that new semester instance of it, you will get a prompt if you want to move all your assignments into
Oh,
that,
that's right.
copy into
That's
that new
right.
semester. If you say no at that time, that's no problem, you go and do it individually, but you can say yes at that time, and then you will get a whole slate of the same things you had in the old semester's grade book in the new. Again, the dates will not be established in any way.
That's a pretty good point.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thanks, Nancy, for that.
Does anybody have any more questions? We have a few more minutes.
On the available and expiration dates on assignments, those all have to be individually done. There is no way to do things as a group.
Yeah, I don't think at this point where you can just group them all together and just say check, check, check. I don't think so. But if you go to the course, if you go to the assignment manager part and you just click on the assignment, I think you can do it right. Well, that's a manual, but I think if you click on it, it will allow you to do it. But no batch processing.
It's under
Yeah.
properties.
Right.
Another thing we should think about, take it back to our developers.
Yeah, that's,
With my 300 assignments, I would really appreciate it.
that's a very good point.
Does anybody have any more questions?
A quick question, and it may be better placed elsewhere, but the hardest part for me, and why I've been resistant yet to use the grade book, and maybe I shouldn't admit this publicly, but I am, I know I'm with Colin, is that to make all of the decisions in July, how many exact quizzes and not the exams, but quizzes and assignments and case studies I'm gonna have, has been a barrier to me, because in order to initiate the grade book, you have to say exactly how many there are gonna be.
You can as you go along.
You can apply it to an assignment group as you create a new assignment. It'll ask you, do you want to
So
apply
you
it
can
to
just keep
quizzes?
changing the number as you advance. Oh, what a simpleton. Thank you.
Show, why don't, let Michael show that.
That's exactly why I have not done it, because most semesters I plan for 12, but for whatever reason, there are 10 or there are 9,
Right.
there are 11, and so I
So we'll
haven't
create a
known
dummy
how to-
assignment real quick.
Thank you.
Create assignment, we'll do just a basic online assignment. Assignment name, so we remember. And the offer in 2005, it's not a group assignment, we'll leave the default statistics there. Assignment instructions. Initial points.
Michael, if someone's not familiar with it, if you would go back to the previous screen.
Certainly.
I found one of my biggest mistakes. I skip over assignment group regularly.
Oh,
That,
And
right.
it's,
Which I did too, that was the point of showing this, so, good point.
so.
And this is where you find your solution here, is you choose what section you want to add that to. If you're creating an extra exam, an additional paper or quiz, you add it to that assignment group. So if I wanted the additional, say a 7th quiz as opposed to a 6th, I'd then, call this quiz 7, and then proceed through, and that's, I just
Do they
go ahead and
keep
cover
them
that.
in numeric order, or they get all bunched up? Funny. Or it doesn't matter?
there, you can
Quizzes
show.
are quizzes.
You can manually move things around to reorder them.
Okay.
The quiz 7 is something you'll manually enter just as identifiable marking to yourself.
Yes.
So,
But since, Tina, it's in an assignment grouping as a quiz, it would be in order.
Okay.
Yes.
You can change where it's displayed in the grade book, in the preferences section of the grade book. It
Okay.
took me a very long time to.
Now I'm sitting here thinking, how do
That
you
out.
reorder them?
Thank you. I do remember having seen that. I have played with this, I just honestly have not had confidence to use it. And I don't want anything published that students have access to that I'm not confident about.
That's a good point.
Understood. Good. Had a question?
Quizzes online, we use multiple choice and scan from and import the grades. But if you do the quiz online, you prepare that in Microsoft Word and import that into,
You can.
I believe you have to cut and paste to that, don't you?
No, you can actually import it if you go to the question bank. You can set all your questions out in the same format, and you can import all the questions together. So you don't have to do one question at a time. You don't have to do one question, enter one question at a time into the question.
so then they'll
bank.
take it as a multiple choice exam.
Would you-
and it would be-
I've never seen this, so I have a question.
Go back to the course tools
You
page.
read how the input must
Would
be.
you, in order to import that, would you have your possible solutions there in a bulleted list, and it would read the bullets?
If you go, see,
Go to assignment, assessment.
Question.
Question manager.
That may be an issue.
And
Some
you
of
say
those
any
specialties.
import questions?
Where am I at? Oh, there it is.
The exact word choice is necessary for reply.
Yeah.
So if they say stomach and you use, and I'll try, I can't think of one right this minute, but some other word that is correct, it would be marked wrong,
Oh, I see
unless
what
you
you're
said
saying. Yeah.
comma.
Yeah.
Here's the section that talks about importing questions, in the question manager, and you can select if it's a multiple choice, just say continue.
But be careful to read the import questions guide, because that will tell you
Yes,
about the
yes.
format that you must have.
And it will ask you if you want, if it's a numeric question or if it's just a question or what kind of prefixes you're using. And you have to remember, you have to have consistency with all your questions. That's the important key. I know that in the next coming version, they will actually have a wizard popping up to say where you have a problem when you're importing the questions. Because right now, if you do this and there's an error somewhere, it doesn't really tell you where the error is. But I know in the new version, they will actually have a little wizard saying, this is where your error is, go back and look at this question, you know. So if you scroll down a bit more, just select something, like you can choose a parenthesis or what kind you want, and then say continue. And it will show you, like, do you want your question like this? How do you want the answer to be shown by little asterisks? Do you want lower cases, upper cases? So you need to stick to the format. That's the main key. So
When you do that kind of importing, will it create, well, if it's just text, I suppose it's not a problem, but I spend a lot of time formatting with HTML code for bold, underline, italics, and all sorts of acrobatics. Would it pull that in?
I don't know. I've never played with it, so I truthfully cannot answer that question. I think it would work.
As long as you don't conflict with any of those characters that you select above, you should be fairly safe. It's the moment that it finds that in a string that it'll dump it. So if you're using periods in places that are atypical next to a number instead of the beginning of the question, you're probably going to run into a problem, in which case you probably want to format using parentheses, you know, like a question 2 parentheses instead of a period.
So if I had, say for instance, if I have multiple blanks within an exercise or in one statement that need to be filled in, I'll often do underline, underline, turn on subscript, parentheses, whatever number for that blank, close parentheses, turn off subscript, underline, underline. So I get this nice little line that looks like it has this neat little number in the middle of it. Those parentheses are going to cause a problem.
Only
right?
if you select them up there. If you're using the periods, you probably won't have that problem.
Okay. And this is that was on a previous
Because that's-
page, actually.
That's basically what causes the little engine to search for in a sequence. And if
It'll
you
look
don't
through the line of
break it,
text and
it
find that
won't work.
parenthesis, and it'll mark that as the next possible answer. Does that make sense?
This would be a really good topic for a roundtable. Importing.
And this
We-
is where Microsoft Word's
Point
auto
noted
format
as
feature.
Next section.
I have one other question.
Sure.
These evals now, these are paper or online. Was that done through online or is this?
It's done through the survey system.
Servers.
Well, it's not right now, is it, through K-State Online? That's a different product. Yeah.
It's a whole different, I think, like survey system, T-Bell is a whole different system on its own. And I don't think it's integrated as yet into K-State Online.
No.
They're independent.
Yes, that's a good
Am I
question.
wrong, or was it part of it and it just went away? I mean, it's now separate, but for some reason I thought it was always part of.
I think one piece of confusion is when you use a survey system, you can easily export or import, K-State Online rosters. Is that
Were you
maybe
talking
where
about the
that
survey
idea came
system
from?
or
Yeah, I
the
was,
T-Bell?
for some reason in the back of my mind, there was a part of the course tools window that said survey system.
Oh, it's still there.
It's just a link to
It
the other
is.
system.
Oh, yeah, it's still there, but you're talking about T-Vals, which is
Okay.
different. Yes, and Idea Online the Idea Center or will send you if you want to use that, or the facilitators will send you that if you want to use that course evaluation tool. But go to the course tools. It's right there. That's a good question.
I don't know if my account actually has access to it.
Yep, it's right there. So survey system is right there.
And it's just a link to the outside, so you can see the URL, we're now on surveys instead of online.ksu. It's showing we're in a different system.
Yeah. And actually, that's how I use for quizzes. Rob thinks I'm crazy, but that's my quizzing system is a survey system.
The IDT Roundtable on that.
Yes, yes. So the question is, does Michael deserve lunch today for doing this? That's what I think too.
Well, thank you to our presenters and thank you for coming. Hopefully we'll have our IDT Roundtables, not in summer, but in fall. So we'll have a series in fall again, and I hope you all come again. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
And thanks for the new ideas too.